Good morning and welcome to day 3 on the Dales Way, and I must admit this is the day I have not been looking forward to at all. The bit I'm not looking forward to is the 22.5 miles from here into Dent. First up today is the last 5 or 6 miles along the River Wharfe through Home and Outer Shore, and then we say goodbye to the river, to the wharf at least, and follow Outer Shore back as far as the Pennine Way, where we join that mighty path for a couple of miles over Cam Fell. From there it's just a simple matter of crossing over Blaymore towards Cowgill and then 4.5 miles down the valley into Dent. Yeah, this is the bit that has been preying on my mind ever since I started planning this walk. But hey, had a good night's sleep, feet are feeling fresh at the moment, so let's get going. Excuse me, sheeps. And now we reach Beckhamons, where we bid a fond farewell to the River Wharfe. Oh, what a fine companion it's been. I know I said on the first day that the 3.5 miles or so up to Bolton Abbey might have been one of the finest stretches of river in the country. I have to say the 5 miles from Buckden to Beckhamons is at least as equal, if not better. It's been absolutely wonderful. And it's going to take some tight editing because I could quite easily have filled a full 10 or 15 minute video just with shots of the River Wharfe. But still, time to move on. Time for a quick snack review before the second course of this walk. 7 miles up along Beck, which is seen as you see coming in on my left. Over towards the Pennine Way and Dentdale. Right, immediately there's a difference between the first bit of this leg and the second bit of this leg. I have to climb a ruddy great hill to get into outer shore. That, I think in front of us, that might be the flat top of Whernside. Right, that is Dale behind us. Dale translates as long marsh, apparently. You can see why. Some of the paths were still pretty soggy underfoot, even in the middle of the dry summer on record. So, can you imagine how wet they'll be in winter. Now, climbing up from the valley, about to turn the corner towards Pennine Way. Right, continuing to climb up towards Pennine Way now, and from here a magnificent view. That is Camfell off to the left, and it was Whernside that's been looming in the distance for the last mile or so. The second of the Yorkshire Three Peaks, and over to the left you've got the other two, Pennigent closest to us, and the pointy summit of Ingleborough beyond. All three peaks in one view. That is a walk I've done many times in the past. Maybe one day I'll get around to doing it for the channel. This is a bit of a pain as well. A quarter of a mile back I got distracted by suddenly getting a signal on my phone bursting into life, which meant I've missed the path, which means I'm now having to slog up this unnecessary hill that isn't actually part of the Dales Way. Look, this reward at the top of the steep hill. It's the Pennine Way. Whew. Right, we're on this now for a mile or so, almost as far as Gearstones, which marks the halfway mark of today's walk. Halfway in psychological terms, not halfway in distance. We've just about reached that now. Okay, another landmark's just come into view. Over to the right there, that is, I believe, Dent Head Viaduct on the Settle to Carlisle line. Looks a bit like River Wharfe, but it's a bit smaller. And that is where Dales Way is heading next. Short but sweet dalliance with the Pennine Way. It heads off to the left. Dales Way heads straight onwards. Just looked at the map. Apparently this is the route of an old Roman road. And just up in front, where we hit the road, is the psychologically important waymark of Gearstones. It's important because it marks the point in which the Dales Way, although it doesn't leave the Yorkshire Dales National Park itself, it does head on up over Blaymore and leaves behind Yorkshire, heading down into Cumbria and Dentdale. Of course, the other reason why Gearstones is a bit of a psychological landmark is that at this point on the first day I'd already finished. At this point yesterday I only had about 3 miles to go. Today I've got about 8 miles still to go. And it's uphill now for the next 2¼ miles, according to that signpost, up to Dent Head. Okay, off the moor now, onto the road near Dent Head. Just as I suspected, that last 2 miles included just about the toughest stretch of the walk so far. Not so much the gradient, it's the gradient combined with the distance already gone and the distance still to go and the weight I'm carrying, not to mention the heat today. It's all a recipe for a long hard slog. But coming up could be the most psychologically rewarding or psychologically damaging bit of the whole walk, because all through today the one thing that's been mainly driving me on is the thought of stopping for a pint at the Sportsman's Inn at Lee Eat. If it's closed, I'm going to be absolutely crushed and the last 4 miles are going to take forever. If it's open, I'm going to feel light as a feather and the last few miles will be an absolute doddle. So fingers crossed. And here is Cumbria stretching out in front of us. And that is actually Dent Head Viaduct. I think I was wrong before when I thought the other one was Dent Head. Turns out the other one actually was River Head. Just looked unusual because I've never seen it from that angle before. finally made it to the pub, and just as I feared it might be on a Tuesday afternoon, it's closed. I'm going to stop here anyway and have a break. Well, that was disappointing. About an hour and a half early for the pub. Can't wait around that long for it to open. I knew these last few miles would feel endless. It's even worse because I appear to have missed a sign for the path. I was wondering why it was taking me along an endless stretch of tarmac. It turns out it wasn't, I just missed a path somewhere. I'm hoping that the Dent's Way actually crosses the road again shortly down here and I can pick it up. Either way, Dent cannot come soon enough. Hey, back on the Dales Way. Hopefully not much more than a mile to go to Dent now. At last, finally reached the bridge beside Dent Village, which marks the end of today's leg of the walk, and it's been an absolute killer. That last 5 miles, worse than even I expected it to be. Taken 2 hours to do. Well, it should have been 4.5 miles. It's turned into 5.5 miles because the path insisted on directing me down dead ends into fields that led nowhere. But anyway, finally made it. It's been, well, I say exhausting today, but it's been some spectacular scenery on the way as well. And the good thing is the next 2 days are nowhere near as long as that. So I'm going to have a shower, go to the pub, drink copious amounts of beer, and I'll see you in the morning.